Hey guys, hope everyone's well. This is two of my last video. If you haven't checked it out, please do. I really appreciate your support, especially for the dyslexic community, it's about conference and events mainly, but also some of my general ideas about raising awareness and empowerment of dyslexic people. I've got quite a few connections with dyslexia on Facebook around the world. Some of them I've met in person, some of them I haven't. Many of them have been really helpful. One or two in Ireland, quite a few in Asia, and a few in Africa, like Malawi, Kenya, and places like that. And I always welcome more who can help me, and I can help them, and we'll help each other. Especially raising awareness, all possible awareness, and that kind of thing, and empowering dyslexic people and teachers to learn about dyslexia. And I love to, as I would say, kill two birds with one stone. A lot of people now are talking about the strengths and positives of dyslexia, and even how dyslexic people can have the minds that are ready for the future. As we move away from I've heard quite a few people say about the future are going to be skills that, ironically, if you like, are going to be dyslexics are going to be able to, I don't like to say rule it, but run it or do well in it at least. But yeah, so dyslexic people could have strengths that are going to help, that could help, and I think if we're empowered, we can help more quickly. So I feel it's killing two birds with one stone as an anti-imperialist, and also someone who wants to tackle poverty, but without forcing people to help or without too much state. I think that empowering dyslexic people who can create businesses and jobs and do really well could be a way to help African and Asian nations. So as an anti-imperialist, to be honest, if I'm honest with you, that's one of the reasons also that where there's a lot of poverty and problems. So I'd love to help those as well. Yeah, so I think supporting dyslexic people, as well as supporting those dyslexic people themselves, could help other people as well. Anyway, I'll try and get onto this list. I've waffled a little bit so with the intro to this video. So I'm going to try and get onto this, because normally I don't like to keep the intro make the intro more than 1 minute long. So I'm approaching 3 minutes. So anyway, I don't want this video to be too long, as I say, so I'm going to try and get on with it. So point 11, I hope to look at dyslexic inventors, ideas people, investors, how dyslexic people can think out the box, think differently, and be creative and all that, and work on problems like terrorism, how to tackle terrorism or crime, and as I say, raising awareness to change the situation for dyslexic people as well, but also help dyslexic people to see what they can do. So it even changes the way they see themselves and changes the way people see dyslexia from a negative to a positive, although it does have some negatives and some weaknesses to it. But I think all types of minds are really important, because if you've got a group of people that only think the same, then to tackle certain problems, if they all have the same strengths and weaknesses, then I think doing something different or tackling a problem is a lot harder. But if you've got a group of people who've got different strengths or weaknesses, then where one is weak, the other person could help them if they're strong in that area. I don't know if that's a very good way of explaining it, but yeah, I'd love to hear from other dyslexics as well, to comment in the feedback in the comment section about your feedback. I'd be more than welcome. About what you think the strengths of dyslexics are and where you think we could help. And you think that investing in dyslexics in Africa and Asia and places like that would be really a good thing, and would you think it'd be feasible as well, and including having conferences and events which talk to politicians across Africa and Asia and places like that about the strengths of dyslexia and how a lot of research has already actually been done. So I'm just using like secondary research, which has shown, I think, between dyslexia and entrepreneurship and other areas, like 20% of self-made millionaires in the UK are dyslexic, apparently 35% in the US. So if you talk to those about those sorts of statistics with governments and with the right support, how even more could be so. And I think hopefully governments across Asia and Africa would be like, maybe we're missing out on something here by only looking at academic strength, whereas dyslexic people might have strength in other areas. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I want to move on to point 12 and talk about how to inspire and encourage dyslexic people, where dyslexic people might be disengaged or disencouraged by the academic system, or have low self-esteem, which can lead to problems like, obviously, one, having low self-esteem can make you feel bad yourself. Secondly, it can also lead you to do bad things or to be involved in crime or things like that, if you feel you've got no other opportunities. So again, I want to inspire and motivate and encourage dyslexic people, and dyslexic people to share their views about whether they feel they've been bullied or whether society doesn't encourage them as much as it could, or things like that. And maybe even have groups as well, like have quirky ideas, as I say, as most people probably know, like dyslexic people going to a gym together and like encouraging each other and having social groups for dyslexic people, people with learning disabilities and so forth. And that kind of thing. Yeah, sorry. 13. Admittedly, there are also many negatives about dyslexia. Like, as I say, dyslexic people can have low self-esteem, be involved in crime, and have many challenges. Another neurodiverse condition as well, like dyspraxia, which I also have, which can make very clumsy or awkward or things like that. So acknowledging that there are weaknesses and problems facing dyslexic people, and there might be challenges with my ideas as well. As I often say, like 13 is like a number I see as unlucky, so I'm using it as a negative. But yeah, maybe dyslexic people can also make like horror stories or also negative stories about their experiences of being dyslexic. Like I mentioned someone once, I wonder how many dyslexic people write scary stories, and they said, "What do you mean about being dyslexic or our experiences?" I actually meant like just general horror stories, but like because we're creative, we've got imagination, but also like negative experiences they've had with teachers, with peers, teachers, or even their own parents or whatever. And that kind of thing, where dyslexic people might feel misunderstood or things like that. 14. I hope to look at like dyslexic strengths in certain things like problem solving and how dyslexic people can solve a lot of the problems facing Africa and Asia, perhaps with the right inspiration, encouragement, and things like that. 15. I hope to listen to dyslexic people and their dreams and goals and things like that, and where dyslexic people feel, as I say, what countries treat dyslexic people the worst or the best, or what countries know the most about dyslexia and things like that. But yeah, generally support and encourage dyslexic people with their goals and dreams and things like that, as well as sharing my own, listening more to other people as well as much as possible, and ideas that we can share with each other, like coping strategies or ways we've overcome our challenges, basically. So that's not the same, that might be the same thing. But anyway, 16, again, I hope to hear from polls and opinions about, like, say, dyslexic people from different countries, how they've, so like, for instance, if dyslexic people rate their satisfaction with life or their feelings about life, you can probably look roughly and say what countries seem to be worst or best, or whether there's a correlation or things like that, and where countries perhaps could have more awareness. Also to like ask questions like, what if African countries learned more about dyslexia people? Could it, as I say, could it improve their countries? Same with Asia and all that sort of stuff. Also hope to help countries like Ireland as well, and other countries that are colonized as well. 17, I hope to look at dyslexia and imagination, like dyslexic story writers, artists, designers, architects, and areas where dyslexics flourish. 18, I hope to look at the positives of dyslexia, things like famous dyslexics, dyslexic entrepreneurs, most successful dyslexic entrepreneurs, possibly rich lists of dyslexics, top 30 richest dyslexics. That could be an idea for Forbes, I suppose, but and maybe we could encourage, if Forbes make any money from it, they could be encouraged to donate that into supporting future dyslexic entrepreneurs. That's another quirky idea of mine. But 19, again, some of the challenges that dyslexics face, like following instructions or remembering names, knowing directions. Like I've heard like quite a lot of dyslexic people like in business we're probably overrepresented, especially for something that's often a disability, if you like, or a weakness. But I wonder how many dyslexics could do even better if perhaps, like for instance, if a dyslexic person says, I'm dyslexic, so I might forget your name, but that's not an offensive thing. Not everyone's understanding, but some people might be like, okay, this person's not deliberately forgetting my name or forgetting things. So it could turn a negative into something where people say, oh, okay, fair enough, this guy's dyslexic. It's not that he's making excuses, but he's weak in this area, but he might be strong in another area. But yeah, he might forget my name. But he's not doing it on purpose, or she's not doing it on purpose, and things like that. So it could help. I know not everyone's helpful, but some people, it could help maybe some more dyslexic people do better in business or have better business relations or contracts or things like that. And point 20, I hope to remember there's shows like Deal or No Deal I talked about before in some of my videos. I think that's, I try and explain it, like in Deal or No Deal there's normally, I think, 22 people. They all each have a box with money in it. The idea is that one person is picked to go each time. So a person is picked to go to the podium with their box, and then they're supposed to pick each box from the other people, and the idea is to save the higher numbers to later, so that means you get more money. So I thought what they could be is like something to do with dyslexic, or the panelists could be dyslexic, and also perhaps the host could be someone like Richard Branson, maybe, if he's not too busy, or someone like that, or basically a dyslexic guy, especially a famous or successful, so-called successful, if you like, depending on how you define success, guy, successful guy or woman, even, if you know what I mean. And each box could contain a fact about dyslexia, or it could be something like information about dyslexia, like what the definition of dyslexia is, or what percentage of entrepreneurs are dyslexic, or it could be a negative or a positive thing. Hopefully most of the boxes would be positive. But before they reveal the number, because when I came up with the idea, I didn't think about that. When they reveal the number, obviously, it's like if you accidentally got rid of a higher number, you'll be disappointed. So to reveal a fact after that would be like, it wouldn't probably work as well. But if they reveal the fact first and then afterwards to reveal the number, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, like shows like Pointless. For anyone who's watched it, for anyone who hasn't watched them, please Google them. So if you want to know what I mean. But yeah, TV shows I think like have dyslexic versions, and sometimes they have facts about. They specifically focus on facts about dyslexia, and also the panelists are dyslexics, or they raise money for dyslexic, supporting dyslexics, maybe in business or whatever other sort of thing, or as well as raising awareness, maybe fundraise for dyslexic people around the world, especially in developing countries as well. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, TV shows and things like that, with information and awareness about dyslexia. And I'd love to come up with ideas and collaborate with other people, and see what can be done. I think that covers everything for part 2. Hope someone out there like this. Please, if you like it, please, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share, and all that good stuff. Peace and love, guys. P.S. I hope you look out for part 3.